Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 2025 SBIF District Rollout. We'll be beginning in just a few moments. For those joining the presentation today, everyone will receive a copy of it via email, and you can also rewatch it over at DPD's YouTube channel. We'll begin in just a few moments. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim Brisky. I'm the Director of Communications at Summer Corps. We are the administrator of the SBIF grant program on behalf of the City of Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us today for the March 2025 SBIF District Rollout. Today, anybody participating in this presentation will actually get a copy of it afterwards sent to you via email. You can also rewatch it later on DPD's YouTube channel. If anybody has any questions during the presentation, you are welcome to send them into the chat box and we will, or excuse me, the Q&A box, and we will answer them throughout the presentation. We will also have a Q&A session at the end. If you have any other questions, feel free to put them in there. But otherwise, I think we're going to turn it over to Nora at the Department of Planning and Development to get us started.
Thanks, Kim. Hi, everybody, and welcome again to our webinar. My name is Nora Curry, the SBIF Program Director for the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, or DPD. On behalf of the City of Chicago, I want to thank you for joining us today. The Small Business Improvement Fund, known as SBIF, provides grants on a reimbursement basis to small businesses and property owners to make permanent improvements to their properties. We are excited to announce our latest improvement, an online application. The PDF is also available if you're not able to use the online application on our website, and you can complete it by hand, but we are transitioning to this new application format. And we plan on improving our processing speed so we can all get down to work on your project faster. One thing that hasn't changed over the years is the assistance that we provide to you as a SBIF applicant. Technical assistance is a key strength of the SBIF program. And when you submit your application, you'll be assigned a Summer Corps project manager. That person is there to help you. If you have questions about your application or run into problems, such as delays with your permits or something goes on with your contractor, please call your Summer Corps project manager immediately. They can help you resolve confusion and roadblocks, and they can also accommodate needed changes with your grant. We don't want to see you get to your deadline and then say, oh, I needed an extension. We want to hear about that early on so that we can help you resolve the issues and keep you on schedule. Your local delegate agency is also another great resource. They may be the people who invited you to this webinar today. The local Chamber of Commerce, local community development organization. Sylvia will make this the larger presentation, and she'll list their names later. Like your SBIF project manager, delegate agencies are here to help you, and they can help with the SBIF application. They can make introductions to local lenders. They can also guide you through the required city processes for your project. So in short, we're all here to help support your application and to help your businesses and your neighborhoods flourish. And with that, I'm happy to hand it back over to Sylvia Orozco, SBIF Director for Summer Corps. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you all for joining us today. As she mentioned, my name is Sylvia Orozco. I am the Director of the SBIF program. I work for Summer Corps. Summer Corps administers this program on behalf of the City of Chicago. We are a not-for-profit organization, a small business lender, SBA 504 lender. We also administer the SBIF program as well as the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program. Celebrating its 25th year of SBIF, it's one of the longest running and most successful programs of the City of Chicago. We've helped retain and expand businesses in all neighborhoods of the city. We've dispersed over $119 million to over 2,100 businesses. So please be advised that this program is a non-residential program. The grant cannot be used for capital or operating expenses. It is strictly for infrastructure repairs. Thank you for joining us once again. Now we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. So today we will go over what is SBIF, the program mission, grant parameters, and project timeline. How do you get started? Is your business or property in a SBIF district? Which SBIF districts are open or on deck? What are the program rules? How do you apply, and what resources are available? We will also go over the March rollout TIF districts.
Sylvia, I think I lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
I can, thank you.
Okay, thanks. What is SBIF? Launched in 1999, the City of Chicago's Small Business Improvement Fund program helps promote economic development by providing small businesses and landlords with reimbursement grants for permanent building improvement cost. Residential projects are not eligible. SBIF grants use local tax increment financing revenue to reimburse grantees for the pre-approved repair or rehab of their business facilities or adjacent land acquisition. Summer Corps is a program administrator contracted by the Chicago's Department of Planning and Development. What is SBIF? Here are the grant parameters. Applicant type. The property must be in a TIF district where SBIF funds are available and is authorized to accept applications. Landlords of either commercial or industrial properties qualify for SBIF. Owners and operators of commercial or industrial businesses who own the property also qualify. Tenants with prior written approval from the property owner, and also startups may apply with the business plan. A City of Chicago's business license is required. Eligibility. You have a commercial or industrial landlord. Your cumulative net worth must be $9 million or less, and your liquid assets cannot exceed $500,000 per individual. For commercial tenants or owner-occupied applicants, their average gross sales must be $9 million or less. And for industrial tenants or owner-occupied industrial businesses, your employees, full-time employees must be 200 or fewer in order to qualify for the program. All owner-occupied properties are subject to both the tenant and landlord requirements. Grant size. $250,000 is the max per industrial properties. $150,000 is the max for a commercial property that is occupied by a single owner or tenant. $250,000 is the maximum per commercial property occupied by multiple owners or tenants, with $75,000 being the maximum assistance per individual applicant. SBIF applications and SBIF grants are non-transferable between applicants and/or properties. Applicants who wish to apply for SBIF funds for more than one property must submit separate applications for each property. Applicants may receive one or more grants up to their maximum program assistance. Once this maximum is reached, the applicants will need to wait 3 years to reapply. For commercial businesses, if your sales or net worth fall between $0 to $3 million, you qualify for 90% of eligible cost. If your sales or net worth are between 3 to 6 million, you would be eligible for 60% of eligible cost. And if sales or net worth are between 6 to 9 million, you would qualify for 30% reimbursement of eligible cost. All industrial projects qualify for 50% of eligible cost. Here we have an example of a grant calculation. Let's say that Grace submits an application for a SBIF grant in an open district with a total eligible project cost of $100,000. She's proposing to make permanent building improvements to her existing retail shop for which she is a tenant. Grace has been in business for 5 years. Over the last 3 years, her gross sales averaged $1.5 million. Here we have a breakdown of her eligible costs as follows. The eligible project costs are $100,000. As a commercial tenant applicant with gross sales under $3 million, she qualifies for a 90% reimbursement grant. The city's responsibility at 90% is $90,000, and the applicant's responsibility at 10% is $10,000. The SBIF grant is a reimbursement grant, so project participants should be prepared with financing to support the cost of the permanent building improvements. Applicants are encouraged to contact their business lender or reach out to one of the lenders listed on the Summer Corps' website in a timely manner. Grantees may choose to complete their project in phases rather than covering 100% of the project cost up front. To participate, the grantees must receive an approval for the full scope of work and the phase work schedule. Construction timing will be based on necessity and contractors' recommendations. Receiving phase disbursements will be based on progress of work. So here we have an example. So let's say that you are in need of a new roof, a new HVAC system, and facade renovations. Now, this contract price in total is coming out to be $180,000. But let's say you don't have $180,000 in hand available right now to proceed with the project. No worries. We can help break this out in various phases, up to 3 different disbursements for each different project. So let's say that phase 1, your roofing cost totals $60,000. You can complete the $60,000 roofing project, submit proof of payments, and proof that the work was actually completed. With a 90% rebate, you will get a grant of $54,000. You can then use that $54,000 to move forward with the HVAC system. So that $40,000 price tag can be covered with the reimbursement that was received from the roofing project, and you can use that to do the HVAC project. With the $40,000 price tag and a 90% rebate, you will then get $36,000 in grant funds. So that money can go towards the final project of replacing your storefront. So we can do up to 3 phase disbursements. So if this is something that you're interested in, you would work with the project manager to schedule and set things up for this. What is the SBIF project timeline? In stage 1, this is the applicant's eligibility review phase. You're granted up to 20 days to submit application materials as requested and prove that you have site control. If you're deemed eligible, you will be moved to stage 2. Stage 2 is the project eligibility review phase. So here you are granted up to 120 days to submit the necessary plans, bids, and specifications that are obtained, and also cure any debts that are owed to the City of Chicago. Stage 3 is the project construction phase. Once the information is presented, and if approved by DPD, the applicants will receive a conditional commitment letter, and the construction can begin. You have up to 10 months to complete the construction. Now, concurrently, the proof of permits or permit application must be submitted within 120 days following the date of the commitment letter. Additionally, the proof of financing must be submitted within 120 days of the letter as well. So you do have to prove that you have funding and that you have applied for the necessary permits or have those permits in hand. Otherwise, this application may be removed if those requirements are not met. So again, you have 10 months to complete the entire project. Once that project is completed, you'd be in stage 4, which is the reimbursement phase. So you would submit your payment documentation, including sworn statements, invoices, canceled checks, and waivers of lien over to Summer Court for review. A final site visit will be conducted. We will review the documentation, let you know if there's anything missing. And if not, we submit that information to the city for processing, and it takes about 4 to 6 weeks until we can have your check ready for you. Unless DPD has granted an extension, the applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limit will be disqualified and removed from the program. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? You can visit our website and click on the locator tool here at summercore.com/SBIF to see if your project is if your property is in a SBIF district. Once you get to the locator tool, you will then enter the address in the space provided there, and it will provide additional information pertaining to that specific property. It will let you know if it's in a TIP district. If so, it will give you details on when that district will be authorized to accept applications. And it also provides information on the delegate agencies of which you can reach out to for assistance. Which SBIF decks are open or on deck? Eligible SBIF districts in Chicago span neighborhoods on the north, south, and west sides. Each month marks a new 30-day period in which SBIF districts with available funds opens for applications. Notice of district openings are provided to relevant aldermen, posted on DPD and Summer Corps' website, and included in the SBIFgram. You can visit our website for the most up-to-date list of open and on-deck districts. What are the SBIF program rules? Ineligible business types include chains and franchises, places of worship, liquor stores, gas stations, smoke shops, residential storage warehouse. So these are some of the businesses that do not qualify for SBIF. It is not comprehensive. So if you are questioning whether or not your business qualifies, you can always reach out to Summer Corps. Here we have a list of eligible improvement costs. We can cover roofing and facades, components of signs or awnings which are permanently affixed to the building, any alterations or structures that are needed for ADA compliance, such as railings or ramps or ADA accessible restrooms, HVAC and other mechanical systems, plumbing and electrical work, certain project-related architectural and construction management fees that are related to the project can also be covered. Permanent interior renovations, including fixtures, and the purchase of adjacent land parcels for purpose of expansion or parking. Ineligible improvement costs include new construction, whether it's an addition or an expansion, or ground-up construction. Any standalone minor repairs or cosmetic improvements do not qualify. However, if they are part of a larger project, we can cover those items. Equipment-related expenses such as appliances, computers, or office furniture are not eligible. There are very few exceptions in this case where for commercial restaurants and also commercial shared kitchens, catering companies, those sorts of businesses, we can cover walk-in coolers, walk-in freezers, fire suppression systems, and also exhaust hoods. Planters that are surrounding or affixed to the building do not qualify. Outdoor dining or drinking areas, including roof decks, beer gardens, outdoor patios, balconies, awnings, porches, and decks, are not SBIF eligible. Fencing, including pergolas, trellises, arbors, privacy screens, and similar structures. Parking lot construction or repair, landscaping, and work on interior residential units are not eligible for reimbursement. What are the SBIF program rules? Here we have the design requirements. The applicants for commercial properties that are seeking a grant of $25,000 or greater are required to make at least one exterior improvement using at least 10% of the maximum grant amount. To receive project approval from DPD, the improvements must conform to DPD's design guidelines. The applicants are strongly advised to consult with Summer Corps and design professionals on design requirements and guidelines before drawing up plans for work. Key exterior design guidelines reviewed during the approval stage include preserving or recreating the original design and window openings when possible, incorporating permanent signage to clearly identify the business, adequate lighting, especially near entrances to welcome customers, avoiding window clutter. The windows should let in natural light and attract passerbys to the business. Other forms of security are preferred, but if necessary, only interior mounted security gates that are integrated into the storefront design will be reimbursed. Applicant compliance. Checks will be performed on all applicants during the approval stage to ensure that they are complying with child support laws and not indebted to the city. Any scofflaw debt must be cured to participate in SBIF. Applicants can cure debts via a city payment plan. The applicants that are using a payment plan must be in compliance with that plan to receive the SBIF reimbursement funds. All applicants must be current on property taxes to receive the conditional commitment letter for funding or reimbursement for completed work. Each applicant must sign an economic disclosure affidavit. The grantees must sign an affidavit certifying that they will not relocate out of the TIF district or sell the business or the property within a 3-year period following disbursement of funds. To be reimbursed, the landlord applicants must have an executed lease with a qualified tenant, and that tenant must be occupying and actively operating their business or nonprofit out of the lease space. How do you apply? You can visit our website at chicago.gov/SBIF to complete the new online application via Submittable. DPD is now offering an online application option through Submittable. If you have any questions about the new application formats, you can contact Gabadale Miranda at her email seen here. You can also visit Summer Corps' website to complete a PDF application within the open acceptance period. You can download a fillable PDF and submit that via email. What resources are available to help? Again, you can visit our website to access the resources to support your SBIF project. You can also connect with your local delegate agency for assistance in filling out your application. Here we have the list of delegate agencies. We do want you to get to know your delegate agency. These organizations are assigned to assist small businesses in the SBIF districts that are opening in March. So you can reach out to the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council, Greater Northwest Chicago Development Corp. Just keep in mind the TIF district that your business is located in and reach out to those delegate agencies that are relevant to your area. For March, these are the districts that are currently open to accept applications, which include 119th and I-57, 47th and Ashland, 47th and King Drive, 47th and State, and Division and Holman. We're currently accepting applications through March 30th at 5 p.m. The critical information for applicants in expiring TIF districts, which includes Division and Holman. This TIF is scheduled to expire on December 31st, 2025. When a TIF expires, the SBIF funds will be liquidated. The district will no longer exist. The timeframe for SBIF applicants in expiring TIFs will be shortened to ensure each applicant can successfully complete their project. Extensions will only be granted under extreme circumstances if the timing allows the project to be completed. All approved projects must be completed by November 15th of 2025 to allow time for processing prior to expiration. Here we have a project that has been highlighted in the 47th and Ashland TIF. They have successfully completed a SBIF grant. This is New Suds Coin Laundry at 1937 West 47th Street. Here you see the pictures before the renovations were completed. And here are the pictures after the renovations have been completed. It's a really nice transformation. So what they did was some masonry work. They included the replacement of damaged bricks and tuck pointing. Storefront improvements included the installation of a glass vestibule, double pane windows with double doors and associated framework, installation of metal awning framing for the back door, and interior wall repairs with drywall and painting. SBIF facts. What additional documents should you have on hand to submit along with the SBIF application? While it's not required when submitting the initial application form, please note that these items are required to complete the SBIF application. The required documents vary depending on the applicant type. So for example, if you operate a business here, we'd ask for business tax returns and your license. If you are just a landlord, we would ask for an executed lease agreement. If you don't have that at the moment of submitting your application, that's okay. But just note that it will be required prior to disbursement of funds. So some of these items here you will need to provide to Summer Corps. Some forms we have templates for, and they will be given to you to be completed. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes, most startups can apply. Startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projections of the business's income and expenses for its first 36 months of operation as part of their application materials. The City of Chicago reserves the right to impose additional conditions for funding in connection with startup business applications. If you've been in business for 1 to 2 years, Summer Corps requires tax returns and a projection of gross sales to equal 3 years of data. Are you eligible if you live outside of Chicago? The important consideration is where you have your business or property. To participate in SBIF, your property must be in the City of Chicago, as the funding source comes from the City of Chicago's property taxes. If your business or property is in another area, please call that city's planning, economic development, or community development department to see what other programs may be available to assist small businesses. What if your building has both business and residential spaces? This program is for business use, but there are mixed-use exceptions. Many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing can be eligible. Can SBIF be used with other City of Chicago grant programs? The answer is no. SBIF cannot be used at the same time as other financial assistance programs, like the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund or the Chicago Recovery Plan grants, on the same project covering the same work. However, you may apply for multiple grants at the same time and select the best fit for your project, provided that you stay within the grant timeline requirements. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? Each TIF district that has a SBIF program authorized in it has limited funds reserved for the program. If the demand for SBIF funds is greater than the available funding supply, then a lottery will be conducted to determine the order in which each grant application may be accommodated. If any surplus funds become available, they will be allocated to the waitlisted applicants. Is there SBIF funding available in your district? Every SBIF area has its own budget, and the city refills it if it has TIF funds available and if there's a demonstrated need for more grant money. We also maintain an interested parties list for funds, which you can also send an email to sbiff@summercorps.com to join. When more funding becomes available or the city allocates more funds, we will let you know. The interested parties list helps the City of Chicago gauge demand for additional funding. What if you are in a TIF and it is not a SBIF? Tax increment financing, known as TIF, is the mechanism that funds the Small Business Improvement Fund program. If you are in a TIF district and it does not have a SBIF, please contact your alderman. Here we have contact information for the SBIF team, as well as Nora Curry, which is the director on the city's end with the Department of Planning and Development. We have 2 websites that you can visit. Google Translate is available on the chicago.gov/SBIF. The resources are available in other languages. A copy of the presentation and a link to the video will be emailed to all attendees. Now we'll go ahead and get started with the question and answer session.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for joining us today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and we're happy to respond now. I don't see any open right now. So I was going to say, unfortunately, we don't have the hand raise function on. So please, instead of raising your hand, make sure to type them out in the Q&A box so we can answer those questions. So Sylvia, the first question I usually ask is, what are the most common, challenges that applicants might have as they work through the SBIF program?
Sure. So as this is a reimbursement program, applicants do have to be prepared to provide the upfront financing. So that is the biggest challenge. However, we don't want you to be deterred by that, because you still have time to get the financing in order before you get to the point of getting the green light to start the construction. So that's one of the biggest challenges, is having financing. Please keep in mind that we could break out the projects in various phases. So if you don't have the full contract price available, we'll work with you to break out in smaller projects. So another challenge is also finding good contractors, good architects, do your research. We require at least 2 contractors' estimates. However, I always suggest that you obtain more. You can decide what contractor you want to go forward with, as long as their prices are within reasonable range of the other estimates. They do need to be licensed and insured. They have to be licensed by the City of Chicago. They don't have to be located within the city. However, they do have to have a license to conduct work in the City of Chicago. So those are the 2 biggest challenges.
I appreciate that. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about what things are eligible for SBIF funds. I know you talked about that cosmetic things, if it's just standalone, are not going to be eligible. But what about furniture, fixtures, equipment? What's going to be eligible there?
So we're very limited on what we can cover as far as equipment. As I mentioned, only for restaurants and commercial kitchens, we can cover walk-in coolers and freezers, exhaust hoods, fire suppression systems. Other than that, we don't cover anything equipment related or furniture, computers, things of that sort. We don't cover those items. Electrical systems, we can cover HVAC units. If you need an entirely new floor, we can cover that as well. Restroom renovations, restroom expansions, ADA compliance items. If you, are freezing in the winter and you get a big draft, we can replace your windows. Things of that sort, roofing projects, we cover those items.
Yeah, I always like to say, if it's something you can put on a dolly and push out, we probably won't be able to cover it. It's really about permanent building improvements.
Yeah.
So someone just wanted clarification. What if, let's say, they did an improvement project last year, completed the work, can they get reimbursed for work that's already been done?
Unfortunately not. You do have to receive the approval from the city prior to making payments to contractors, and also prior to actually starting the construction. So unfortunately, we can't cover anything that's been completed, but if you have something in mind that still needs to be done, we can take that into consideration.
That's great. I have an applicant specifically asking about the phasing for phase disbursement. And I guess the concern was sort of that they did not have the cash on hand to complete the entire, so they want to be able to accomplish smaller portions along the way. Is that your expectation of how the phasing procedure should be used?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly, why we allow the phasing, because we know that it's hard for business owners to, have thousands and thousands of dollars readily available to you. But we do want you to take advantage of the program and, provide you with options, whether it be, you obtain a loan and get everything covered in full, or you use your own money to save on interest charges. We can help break it out in various phases, up to 3
But
disbursements.
even if you are still doing the phase, the phase procedure, you do still need to have financing upfront, perhaps not all of it. How much would you typically have to have upfront to be able to start?
I mean, it all depends on the size of the project. If you have a $200,000 project, for meeting the requirements of the proof of financing, you have to show that you have at least $100,000 available to you. Otherwise those are means for disqualification and the application will be removed. So it all depends on the size of the project. We have some projects that are $50,000.
Mhm.
If the applicant has, $20,000 to start with, we can work with them on breaking out the project in phases as needed.
Great. Let's see here. Someone was asking in terms of, again, for proof of financing, would a loan pre-approval letter, would that suffice? Is that something that the SBIF team would look at?
Unfortunately, a pre-approval letter will not suffice. An approval letter, an official commitment from the bank will suffice.
Okay. Somebody was asking if they wanted to purchase, and so just to be clear, purchasing a new property is not going to be something that you can use the SBIF grant for, but you can reach out to us for the SBA 504 loan, which does include the purchase of commercial real estate. But let's say they now have real estate that previously was a liquor store or a tavern or place of worship, and you wanted to repurpose it for your specific purpose. Could you potentially qualify for SBIF?
Absolutely, yes. So one thing I do want to mention is if you are, thinking of something like that, make sure that the business you're looking to open is currently zoned for that business. Otherwise, if it requires a zoning change, that's a lengthy and costly, thing to go through. So we cannot accept an application if it requires a zoning change for the property, because from our experience, it's taken, 1 year, 2 years just to get the zoning change. So if it's not currently zoned for the business that you're looking to operate, I would say, take care of whatever matters need to be done to get it properly zoned, then apply for SBIF.
And similarly, that same project, they don't already own the property, but they're not ready to purchase it yet. They need to do that first. And I know that you need to actually have site control to be able to participate in SBIF. Maybe can you talk a little bit about what site control is, how it's important, and at what time do you need to have it to be able to move forward in the SBIF program?
Sure. So site control is very important because we want you to have control over the site. Otherwise, we cannot provide an approval for, let's say, a building that you don't own or a building that you don't rent. So site control, the acceptable items that we can take is a lease agreement, executed lease agreement signed by both parties, both the tenant and also the landlord, or proof of ownership showing that you obviously own the building, which can include a deed, depending on how the structure is set up. If it's in a trust, we just need to know exactly who the owners are, and they will be required to submit application materials.
And just to be clear, when it comes to SBIF and when you can apply, the key is you're only able to apply when that particular TIF district is open for new applications. So if you're not ready yet and you don't have the building yet, unfortunately, unless you feel like you can get that proof of site control in time, this just isn't the right time for you to apply for SBIF for that project. Doesn't mean you can't apply the next time around. And we do have, and we maintain on the Summer Corps and the City of Chicago website, it's the rollout schedule. So you'll know for the rest of the year what the plan is. So just make sure you're following that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
not unless the closing is scheduled within the next 30 days or so, it's probably not a good time.
yeah. Um, one more question. Would you be able to kind of dig in a little bit more of what the requirements are as a startup business to be able to participate in the SBIF program?
Sure, for startup businesses, we do require a business plan and also details about the projections, basically 3-year projections of income and expenses. So we want to know what type of business you're looking to operate there, who the owners are, what services or, items that you're looking to sell, what your days and hours of operation are, basically everything that we need to know will be provided to you. It should be part of this business plan. We do need 3 years of data, so, you know, basically projections at this point of what your income and expenses will be for the next 3 years.
And for anybody who's a startup business here who or wants to have a startup business and maybe wants a little bit additional technical assistance on how to make a business plan and projections, while that's not something directly that Summer Corps offers, we have a lot of really great partners. Obviously you can also check out the City of Chicago BACP. They have courses, as well as Allies for Community Business, Women's Business Development Center. Lots of free resources to be able to get that information. You can also send us an email at spiff@summercorps.com, and I'm happy to send those along to you. Um, I do have a question here about the construction time that you have for the project. You only have 10 months. And they wanted to know, are things timely from Summer Corps and the City of Chicago in terms of getting the required, inspections and permits? And how do we work with clients to meet those deadlines?
So we basically work at the applicant's pace. On the city's end, things are done a little bit differently as far as inspection goes. We have no control over how quickly or how long it takes to get the inspections done. If there's any significant delays, then we could reach out to our liaisons at the city to try to expedite things. But we do try to work at your pace. So, if let's say your project gets done in 4 months, we basically go through the process at that time to review your payment documentation and try to get your reimbursement as quickly as possible.
But I do think it's a good opportunity to remind everyone, if you notice that your permit really is taking a long time, you're not hearing from the city about permit inspection, it feels like it's been a big delay. Always let your project manager know whether or not that means they can try to help expedite or give you an extension, right? Because that's the problem, is you don't want to be all of a sudden at your deadline and you ran out of time. So that's really important.
Communication is very important with both the applicants and the project managers, and also communication between the applicants with the contractors and the architects. This is your project, so you're responsible for this. I just want everybody to basically stay on task with everything that needs to be done and don't, say, well, the contractor is responsible for that. The architect is responsible for that. At the end of the day, this is your project. So if the architect's not responsive to the city for 3 months, that's a problem there. So you want to make sure that if there's any follow-up from the city in regards to permits, that the architect is taking action right away. Same thing with the contractors. If they're unresponsive, you do have the opportunity to change a contractor if they're non-responsive or if their schedule just does not permit your project to be completed within the time frame that you were granted. So we can always, go back to what it is that you're looking to do. If you have the contractor that provided secondary bid, their license is active, license and insurance is valid, so you can use them. Or if you bring in another contractor, we can allow you to change that. However, this does have to be presented to Summer Corps before you do anything, because we have to first review their estimates, compare that to the approval that was granted. If there's something that's missing and it's completed, it will not be eligible for reimbursement. So what we do is we cross-reference the bids, make sure that everything that was initially approved is included in this new bid. We verify that the license and insurance is active. So if that's, something that you need to go through, Again, communication is very, very important. Always reach out to your project managers and let them know, what's going on. They can always advise you further and let you know what needs to be done, but we don't want you to do anything that may jeopardize your grant. We don't want you to use contractors that are not licensed, pay the handyman down the street to do some work because it's not going to be eligible for reimbursement. So we want you guys to follow the rules and just be in good communication with your project manager.
That's great. Just a few things I saw that I can quick answer. Number one, if you're a new business looking to buy property, that's not something that the SBIF grant is going to be eligible for. Again, though, we can assist you with a different program called the SBA 504 loan. And also somebody was asking for the information. I mentioned some of these agencies that work with startups on their business plan. And somebody else had another very specific question about their LLC structure. All of those folks, send an email to spiff@summercorps.com. I will work with you directly afterwards to be able to assist and make sure that you get the information that you need. Somebody did ask if event spaces are eligible for funding. Maybe you can talk about if it's a startup or if it's an existing event space. Maybe talk about that.
Sure. So startup event spaces are not eligible for SBIF. If you have an existing event space, we'd have to take into account how long the business has been open. If it's less than 3 years, it may be considered as a startup, which does not qualify for SBIF. So if there's, something as far as like, I would say, we just had a grant paid out to an event planning business, and they expanded into the adjacent space so that they can utilize that for their business as well. So that's something that we can cover, but startup event spaces do not qualify. Startup banquet halls don't qualify. So we'd have to, dig in a little bit more to determine eligibility.
Right. And just a reminder, you can either be the landlord, you can be an owner-operator, meaning you own the property where you're operating your business, or you can be a tenant with landlord approval. One more question we have here is, does Summer Corps have a list of construction companies that they can recommend to people who are SBIF applicants?
Yes. So we do have a list available on our website. They are all licensed by the city of Chicago. So again, you do have the option to decide what contractor you want to work with, as long as their prices are reasonable and they provide the license and insurance that is required.
And if you go to, I think we have a slide here that highlights all the resources that we have, so that you were able to see here. We've got the licenses. We also have on here, let's say you're interested in finding financing. We have a list of lenders who have worked on SBIF programs before, so they are familiar with them. And just one last time, in case folks are looking for the contact email address for our team, if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email here at summercorps.com/SBIF for our information, and then just SBIF@summercorps.com for our email address, and we're happy to help. And
One
I
more
think
thing,
that's
as you
it.
mentioned, lenders, I do
Yeah.
want to let everyone know that we can sign bank assignments. So if you go get a loan, you can let them know that you're participating in the SBIF program. And there's a bank assignment that will be signed by the applicant and Summer Corps. So when the proceeds of the grant are available, they will be allocated directly to the lender to pay off a portion of the loan. And then as the applicant, you will be responsible for paying off the remainder. So that is an option. I always suggest that you reach out to your existing lender. You've already established a relationship with them, but if it doesn't work out, if it's not something that they, provide to small businesses, you can always reach out to the lenders on our website that are familiar with the program. And, hopefully it works out for you like that.
Great. All right, that was a lot of great questions, but I think we're all wrapped up here. We appreciate everybody for participating today. Again, you'll receive a follow-up email with a copy of the presentation. You can also watch it on DPD's YouTube page. If you have any other additional questions, feel free to send an email to spiff@summercorps.com and we can help you there. We look forward to seeing your applications. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.